I'm not understanding something. I have gone through this 3 times. I would have brought you a topic on this yesterday, but I didn't get it well enough to speak on it. So now I'm just going to tell you what I don't get. And you got to correct me here. So, okay. Let's start with the pieces at the beginning. Out of nowhere, we find out that Dricus du Plessis is hurt, and therefore out of his fight with Khamzat Chimaev. Here's the problem. He didn't have a fight with Khamzat Chimaev. There is no fight. Dricus du Plessis cannot, by definition, be out of a fight that was never signed. We didn't even have a rumor. We didn't have a rumor like, hey, we're getting the paperwork done, but hey, these are 2 honest guys. You can count on it now. Tickets are on sale, and there was nothing. As a matter of fact, we just held a massive press conference in Miami. We brought guys in that weren't even with the company yet. Aaron Pico comes to mind. Never stepped in the octagon. We didn't have Chimaev there. We didn't have Dricus there. There was no promos. There was no packages. Nobody's really been discussing it. We all do understand that Chimaev deserves the title shot, but there's been a big question of can he travel? Can he get around? Are we going to wait to get to the Middle East? Now we find out Chimaev is out of the fight. They were scheduling for International Fight Weekend. They can't do it, even though they admit, while using the term out of the fight, they fully admit they don't have a contract for the fight, but at least it tells us that Chimaev can travel. All right, now that part I do have correct. I do have correct that you have read countless headlines that Chimaev is out of a fight, and I'm stepping in front of it to let you know, no, he's not. By definition, you had to have had a fight to be out of it, and they did not. That part I'm right about. Okay, insert Kyle Barao, who I love as an option. I think that is wonderful. But to save the day when we get hit with a rumor that DDP is out of a fight that never existed in the first place, Kyle Barao is going to fight Imanov. Going to fight him for the interim championship. And Imanov turns it down. Now, when I told you that I'm confused, it's on this part right here. Did the UFC try to book Imanov versus Kyle? That's the entire part that I'm lost about, because Kyle came out and called him out, and Imanov responded by saying no. But was that done through the media, or was that done through a mediator and a representative of the UFC? And the reason it's relevant, what in the hell are those 2 guys fighting for anyway? I mean, if you're going to do an interim championship, you're telling me we're going to do an interim championship that doesn't involve Khamzat Chimaev? And Imanov was pretty set in his ways. I mean, he not only said no to Kyle, he laid out his case, which is, I'm ranked number 1. Here's what I've done. Now, here's how you got to where you are. And even though you got there, it wasn't as clear of a path. I mean, he brought up the fight with Jared Canner, for example, and said, look, you won, you stopped him, but you were losing until you won. I laid out his own case. Quite frankly, I'm skipping over it because it wasn't the world's strongest case. But I don't have a problem with it anyway. I'm just confused. What is it that Imanov wants to do? Like, if he fights Barao, what does he feel opportunity-wise he's missing? Kyle suggested he fight Imanov. Or am I wrong? And the UFC suggested Kyle fight Imanov. I don't think so. Imanov said no. But Imanov can't technically say no if it's just a suggestion in the media. It has to be done with a representative through the UFC. It'd be the same thing as saying yes. It would mean nothing. You do not have a fight if 2 guys fight each other and they agree to fight. So, Imanov is saying no to Barao. Barao needs to wait his turn. Imanov is number 1. But unless Imanov is being offered a fight at the belt, why, even in a make-believe suggestion through the media, would Kyle Barao's suggestion of an interim belt be something that the number 1 guy wouldn't do? Now, if in fact Dricus is hurt, and if in fact he was supposed to fight Chimaev International Fight Weekend, which I've got to use the word if, you don't get to, no matter how bad our media wants to cancel a fight, you don't get to cancel a fight that was never made. And you don't get to say a fight was made if bout agreements weren't signed. Of which, with Dricus and Chimaev, neither ever happened. Okay. But if that was the plan and the direction that we're trending in, history of the sport still keeps the card together as best it can, which means Chimaev remains. So now we have a question of would Chael go up and face Chimaev, which would be an awesome fight, or would Imanov go in and face Chimaev, which would be an awesome fight? I mean, not for nothing, Kyle Barao suggesting he and Imanov do an interim championship, thus sliding Chimaev, is a very fascinating concept. And it's one in which I would expect Imanov to be on board with, but he wasn't. Fighting Barao is a step down. He says that he's number one. I don't believe that. I don't believe Imanov. I don't care about rankings, but I also can't check the rankings because I don't know where to find the rankings. But I don't believe him. I believe if I did go look at those rankings, I'm going to find out that Chimaev is ranked number one. So I've got a confusion. I've got a little bit of a confusion. And I got to live through this. You got to understand that the best writers in our industry reported yesterday that Dricus versus Chimaev is off, which is impossible. It was never on. But now we have Imanov, who I respect. By the way, Imanov is a total stud, but he's claiming that he's ranked number one. I don't believe him. I haven't confirmed it. Maybe he is. I don't believe him. So for Kyle Barao to find somebody that is not the obvious number one contender in Chimaev and try to make a match which would supersede Chimaev. Like whatever Chimaev is ranked or he's undefeated, whatever nice things you want to say, interim champion trumps whatever you could say about Chimaev. The play here was not between Imanov and Kyle Barao. That's not the play. That's what this has turned into. The play here was Kyle using Imanov, and together they were going to stick it up the ass of Chimaev. That's what actually was attempted in this story.